What's up? How you doing? Here we are, Sunday. It's around 2 o'clock in the p.m. Getting lots of rain today. That storm Hillary is not here yet, but it's getting closer and closer as we speak, or as I'm speaking. I think it's moving up the coast at around 25 miles per hour. So right now, it's just raining. There's no wind at all, like nothing, and it's very very tropical out here. It's almost like Hawaiian style air, very tropical. So we're just relaxing, not much going on today. I'll probably make a little bit of tea in a little bit, and have it out here. You hear that sound? My father was a big fan of that sound. This is where he would take his nap, with that sound. So what he would do is he would set up some kind of metal, or tin, maybe tin barrel or something outside his window, and the rain would hit that, and that would create a relaxing atmosphere, and my father would go into a nice sleep state, especially on a Sunday, on a weekend. On a regular day he couldn't do it, but on a weekend, like a Sunday, if my father would hear rain was coming, he would put out the aluminum, the metal, whatever, and he'd have ping, 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 ping. Yeah, very relaxing. Hypnotic. So we're getting, a lot of rain today. Flash flooding. It's kind of weird when you're in the desert and it starts raining like this. Out of nowhere, a river appears. So you're driving, doing your thing, and then all of a sudden you notice up ahead the river. And it's because all the mountains, they funnel all that water down into the valley and create rivers almost instantly. Almost. One time I was in the desert and crazy lightning. And they say lightning never hits the same place twice. That is a lie. The Empire State Building on average gets hit 23 times a year with lightning. So they say the worst place to be when there's lightning is under a tree. That's probably the second worst place. The worst place is an open field. Nice flat area, and there you are, running around the field. Lightning will find you. And then if you don't die from it, you get like that paralyzed sensation where you're out, you're aware things are going on around you, but you can't move your body. But usually you'll suffer a heavy, massive heart attack, and that'll be the end of you. Because lightning is strong enough to power a DeLorean time machine. So you can imagine what it's going to do to your heart. And I wonder where the cats are today. Usually I got a little one over there waiting for food, but today they're hiding somewhere. So I'm probably gonna bring out my tools here to make some tea. I think I'm gonna do it with gas today, or with propane, because it's raining and I don't want to hook up the electrical wires out here. You never know what can happen. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. Hook these things up. feeling today, somewhere along the line, we're going to lose power. Hopefully we don't lose water, but power, very likely. Strong winds, and I will say this, I will say that hold on, where's my thought I brought, oh, here it is. This thing has a lighter on it, but sometimes it takes a while. So I have my tea here, Tibetan monk's tea. Have a cup. I said awesome. I had to speed that up. All right, put that aside. I love tea. Love tea. I brought some mountain tea back from Greece. But it's kind of misleading to call it tea, because tea is tea. That's not really tea. That's some kind of herb that grows up in the mountains that they collect, and it's really good. It's an awesome flavor, but it's not tea. You know, it's not tea. Something else. So we'll let that sit there for a bit. Anyway, like I said before, it's raining. It's been raining now since about 8 o'clock in the morning, but no wind. Very calm and peaceful. This is the calm before the storm. So I can only imagine later everything's going to be moving. It's going to get crazy in here. Delicious. I probably, instead of having this right now, I should have done my anchovies. But I can do that after this. There's no rule against it. There used to be a show a long time ago when I was about that big. I think it was called the Swiss Family Caruso or something like that. And they got stranded on some uninhabited island. And I don't know. That's like, while you're going through it, it's probably frightening, but you wish you could have an experience like that. I would love to be at sea, and then, you know, in the middle of like whatever I'm doing, there's a massive hurricane that shows up, and then you end up in the ocean somehow. You have a life preserver or a raft or something that you're holding on to, and all of a sudden, after hours of being stuck in the middle of nowhere in the ocean, you notice that there's a dark, shadowy outline, and that turns out to be an island. You get washed up on the island, and then it's like exploring. Fun time. You know, because every once in a while, you know, you get tired of the same old, and you want to see something different. And I think that going to an uninhabited island, especially one where the temperature is like now, very, very, very tropical. Like if it was, I don't know, if it wasn't concrete here, put a sleeping bag and just, you know, it's that, you know, feeling right now. It's very, very, like, what is it, the Cook Islands? It feels like I'm on the Cook Islands. But no wind yet. I mentioned before in other videos about a massive storm that I was caught in the panhandle of Texas. I was driving across, and there was a field to my right, and I look, and there was a huge tornado that had formed way down, you know, and I could see it spinning, but it was, you know, far from me. And then out of nowhere, it started to rain. Cats, dogs, and a couple of cows, and you couldn't see in front of you, you couldn't see behind you. But anyway, that was one time. Another time I was stuck like that. Not stuck, but I was driving from New Jersey to New York, and I got caught in a very, very bad rainstorm. Thunder, lightning, it was coming down crazy, flooding. And at that moment, I was going over the George Washington Bridge. Crazy. And then another time, we had an ice storm. I was in high school, and all of a sudden, I guess it started off as rain, and then the temperature dropped, and everything crystallized. You know, it was like all the trees had a quarter-inch of ice around every inch of them. The trunk, the leaves, everything was cut. Not the leaves, but the branches. Because I was, you know, I think it was late fall, early winter, and so everything froze. And the principal, whoever, it was the dean of discipline, they called him back then, he got on the loudspeaker. And he said that we're closing down the school, you guys are getting off early. And talk about a euphoria rush. Very excited, very happy, you know, and we went in front, and they had the buses, you know. These were buses that they would charter for the school, public buses, you know, the public transportation buses that the school would order to come in. And so we had like a bunch of these, and I got on, and then the thing, you know, got packed. There was no standing room. Like everybody was like, you know, like this, and I was in the back, and all of a sudden we started to leave, and it was coming down like crazy. Ice, ice, ice. Everything was ice cubes all over the street. Ice cubes. So we were going up a slight hill, And I remember the bus got stuck halfway up and the tires were spinning. And I'm like, with all this weight, you know, and the bus can't go up. We finally made it up, and then I got off at my corner, and from the bus stop to my house back then, it was 3 blocks walking. You could not see in front of you. The ice was coming down. It was like blades going into your eyes. So the only thing I could do was look down like this and walk by following the sidewalk. When I got to my house, we had these big, tall bushes in the front. They were like 15 feet high, these bushes. And the wind, it was really windy too. So we had an ice storm, ice, wind, you name it, frigid temperatures. And the bushes in front of my house had fallen over. So I went upstairs, and it was like very intense. The next day when it was all done, I remember it was a Saturday, and we got into my father's station wagon and we drove north. And everything, we didn't have cameras like we have now, otherwise we'd have videos of it, but everything was crystallized. So I remember we got a day off because of that. Very exciting day. There's been many times when I was a kid, they would announce major snowstorm coming, and I'll be like, I'm not doing my homework tonight, I'll do it tomorrow, snowstorm. And then I would wake up at around 6 a.m. just to look at the snow, just to make sure. And I'd look out, it was all rain. You'd go to school without your homework. In high school, they were strict on homework. And all day you'd be in trouble. Every single teacher would be like, you didn't do your homework? I'd be like, no, because I thought there was a storm coming. Delicious. Grand Canyon mug, coffee mug, but I have tea in it because it works that way as well. So yeah, that was it. That was a very bad ice storm. Have not seen one quite like that since that time. What else? Oh, and one time, like, I've been in severe cold weather, but this particular night, I had gotten off work, and in those days I worked late, like, you know, like I would get off, you know, a lot of times I worked till 11, but that particular night I got off at 7:15, around there, and it was freezing out. It was like barely like 5 degrees, I remember. It was like really cold, and it was windy, crazy wind, and I had to walk to the bus stop every night, and the bus stop was not close. It was about, you know, a couple mile walk from, you know, the place where I worked. So the wind was hitting me, and I mean, it was crazy wind, like, you know, about 30-35 mile an hour wind, but combined with the cold, and I felt like it was glass going into my face. It was so intense. So I got up there, and I didn't know where to hide, you know, from the wind, because it was so cold that there was no shelter. I was just like waiting like this for the bus, and I had no hat, nothing, just a little jacket that I had back then. But that was that really sticks out. I remember that night like it was day before yesterday. Man, delicious. And then of course you have the occasional earthquake here. We haven't had one, a noticeable one, in a very, very long time, but I don't know, 2007, 2008, 2009, those years, we were getting earthquakes often. You know, you're sitting down, all of a sudden you'd feel that sensation that somebody was shaking you like that. I remember one time, I think it was 2007, or it might have been 2008, but I was in Walmart, did my little shopping with the cart, and then I was in the checkout line. And I kind of felt a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a thing, movement. And immediately I thought, that feels like an earthquake. And by the time that thought was processed in my brain, I felt like, like somebody took Walmart and was doing this to it. And it lasted for, I don't know, 5 seconds. Just as stuff was going to start falling off the shelves, it stopped. And the lady who was at the register, she got very emotional. She started crying, and everybody was like, "It's okay, it's okay." So it was like, it got to her. And then, I thought that was a bird, but it's not. I don't know where birds go when it rains. I know where that guy's going. He's going to his mom. So, go to your mom's basement there. Turn the car off in the driveway. Alright, I'm back. I had a little interruption there. Anyway, yeah, so the lady at the Walmart cash register, she got very emotional. She got very frightened over this. And it was, because at the beginning, you don't know how long that shaking is going to go for. It could be 5 seconds, it could be 30 seconds, it could start off as, like a feeling of, oh, that's only a 3 or a 4, and then it could end up being a 7 and, a 7.8, 7.9. You don't know. So, you get all whatever. But I remember I was in there for, that period of time, and it just felt like things were going to start dropping off the shelf, but that didn't happen. And then I ran into her, I don't know, about a decade later. Like, I would see her, once in a while, because I kept going to the same Walmart. I had a schedule back then. Every Monday, I would go to Walmart and do some shopping there and get some items. And so occasionally I would run into her, and back then my daughter was a baby still, and she would always talk to her. And then a while went by. I didn't go to that Walmart anymore. I ended up switching to Target, doing my shopping at Target. But one day I was back there with my daughters. Now they're a lot older, and this was like, I don't know, maybe 2017, 2018, and I ran into her. And I said to her, remember that time I go, there was an earthquake and you were at the register? She goes, oh yeah. She goes, I remember. I go, I was in line. I was next in line. And she goes, she says to me, and what was I doing? Meaning, what was she doing when the earthquake hit? I said, you started to cry. And she said, yeah, that sounds like me. That's exactly what I do. She goes, when an earthquake hits. So she was shopping that day. I thought maybe she left Walmart, but I was in that Walmart. She goes, I still work here. It's just my day off. I'm shopping. So that, and then I ran into her another time, I think maybe 2 years ago. I was at the Walmart. I was buying some fishing gear. And I saw her, and I went to her register, and I talked to her again. Said, I don't think she remembers me. Every time I see her, it's like she sees me for the first time. Because how can you remember people from where you work when you see hundreds and hundreds of people every single day? So anyway, I always remember that. And then another time, I was in the shower, lathering up, and an earthquake hit. And I was like in the, bouncing around the shower. It was like, And then another time, I was sitting on my bed. I was watching television, and I had these long windows in this room. And all of a sudden, I could hear them, like they were shaking, making a noise. And then the room started to go back and forth like that. So that was that. And then another time, I was going down a flight of stairs, and an earthquake hit there. I had to slow down a little bit. And then another time I was in my kitchen, right by the sink, and this was an unusual earthquake. This felt like the ground that the building was on, the structure, was on a wave. I was in there, at the sink, and I felt like, like I was on the ocean. It was a wavy thing like that. Other times it's like this, but this one was like, like that. So, and then another time I was at a restaurant, I was eating, and an earthquake hit there. So there's been a few. The first time it happens, though, because you don't know what to expect, it just feels weird. First time you're in an earthquake, it just feels crazy, like the whole place is being shaken by King Kong. All these natural disasters are crazy if you take them to a violent extreme. You know, like a 3.0 is nothing, but you go past a 5, and then we're talking, you know, damage. Especially at night. There was another one where I was in bed, you know, ready to go to sleep. It was late, and then the bed started to do a little rocking. I go, that was an earthquake. Movie theater was another one. And a more recent one was at Disneyland. I was at Disneyland with my family, and we were waiting in line to get on a ride, and we got hit with an earthquake there. They had to shut down the ride. Immediately they do an inspection, make sure everything's fine inside, and it was. So yeah. Just gonna say one thing about, I may say more, but right now it popped into my head, I'm gonna mention it. Dolly Parton. Dolly. Not a common name, Dolly. Was that short for Dorothy or something? I don't know. Dolly. What's your name, Dolly? Anyway, she just released Let It Be by the Beatles. And apparently, because I can't tell, but Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney are on the recording. And I want to say I give it a thumbs up. I heard it yesterday for the first time because I think it's brand new, just released. And it's a really good tune. She does a really good job. I highly recommend it. Go listen to it, get a copy. I remember Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, Islands in the Stream, written by, I think, Barry Gibb. Maybe the Bee Gees wrote that, but I think Barry Gibb did that. Islands in the Stream. What a cool song that was, and what a perfect combination of voices. I, to this day, love that song, Islands in the Stream. But my favorite Dolly Parton song, picking up now, is Here You Come Again. I love that song. I love the music, the lyrics to that. Yes, Jolene is awesome too, but Here You Come Again. Looking better than the body has a right to. I mean, that song is incredible. It's such a good song. And you feel the emotion. You feel the emotion. You know exactly what she's talking about. So yeah, I'm a fan of Dolly Parton. And Jolene, you know. And of course, we know that the original version of, is that The Greatest Love? Dolly Parton. Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson's like, was he almost 90? No, I think he turned 90, right? Saw him live, 2005, in Jacksonville, Florida. The Los Lonely Boys were the opening act. And they were great. I love them. I know now they don't. I don't know if they don't get along or something. I hope they've passed that now. I think time may have healed whatever that they were going through. I hope. But I love that album they put out, Hollywood. That song, great tune. I mean everything. Just the guitar playing, the singing, that kind of music speaks to me. I love that kind of music. So, but I don't know what happened to them. They kind of vanished for a while. But they were the opening act, and when they came out, they had the top-of-the-line equipment, drum set full of drums. Everything was, like, stacked up. Everything was brand new, It's like the latest state-of-the-art in technology. They had it, and they did their set. And then the main event, Willie Nelson comes out. And Willie Nelson, when he came out, First of all, the drummer had just 2 drums and a stool, and the technology that they were using looked like from 1957. You know, Willie Nelson had the guitar, the Martin guitar with the big hole here, but the whole band looked like, you know, they needed money for equipment. Really, really outdated equipment, but they sounded great. They sounded great. Willie Nelson was like right on the money. I mean, he sounded great, and I remember there were these 2 girls that were right in front of me. I mean, I was close to the stage, and they were right in front of me. I could have been right in front of them. It was like standing room, and they knew every lyric. They knew every word to every Willie Nelson song. I mean, I know a lot of them, but they knew everyone. They were singing along, and I was like, wow. And some of this stuff was, you know, never heard of it before. So the one that they sang that made an impression on me, which I didn't know what song that was back then. I didn't know. I know now. But it was a new song, you know, in those days. It was a Beer for My Horses, Whiskey for My Men, Beer for My Horses. That song. It's a duet with Toby Keith, who I am a big fan of. Love Toby Keith. I hope he gets well. I hope he stays well. But yeah, if you buy that album, Beer for My Horses song is on there, and what a good tune that is. But he sang that. I'd never heard of that because it was pretty new to me. And the girls in front of me, they knew every lyric. They were singing along. I go, that's a good song. I got to find out what that is. So I did. Yeah, it's coming down now. Anyway, I'm probably going to be back here in a few minutes. I'm going to do my anchovies. Get some anchovies in here. And I have this new olive oil I'm going to try out. If I were a survivalist, I would have barrels here right now filling up with water. I don't know, I see people collecting water from their gutters, their roof. You know, in some of these magazines, you see them, they have a barrel there. I don't know, you have to have a really clean roof to drink the water that comes down from your roof. Or maybe they filter it, I don't know. Anyway, I will be back, and I will eat some anchovies.